Today we're going to be talking about the Ben Simmons cycle. Now we know he has his workout videos in the summer where he can magically shoot, and me personally at least, I know he can shoot. He just doesn't do it in game. He shows us something that should be on the menu, and then come fall time when the season starts, it's never there. It's never an option. He always scores at the rim, which is understandable. He is 6'10", 240, 250-ish. So he is a bulldozer and a mountain of a man to deal with at the rim. Rudy Gobert found that out firsthand when he gave up Ben Simmons' career high, I believe it was 42 points a couple seasons ago when he was on the Utah Jazz. That being said, Ben Simmons is on the Brooklyn Nets, and I expect him to have a breakout year this season. It shouldn't be hard to do considering the fact that last season he obviously had his ailments and issues and only played in 42 games, and he averaged 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, typically he averages closer to the 14 to 16 point mark, and I do expect him to get back up to that point. I think on the low end, we're expecting 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. I think that he can definitely do more because in my eyes, his ceiling is LeBron James as far as a night in, night out performance basis, because I don't want to say that he shoots as well as LeBron James, but I know he has the build, body, and capability of doing the same things and making the same passes and plays that LeBron James does, despite not having the same level of just basketball IQ, and for one, starting out that way, and also for two, just not having that same level of experience. That being said, it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason he decided to go, 28-8, 28-9, 28-10, because he's perfectly capable of doing that. And on this particular roster with the Brooklyn Nets, that's something that's very reasonable and liable to happen. That being said, Mikal Bridges appears to be the head of the snake on that team, so I believe that he's going to be the person that comes first on a night in, night out basis, which there's nothing wrong with that, because while I don't think that he is the number one player on a championship caliber team, I think he's a very solid number 2 and an immaculate number 3. Mikal Bridges as your third best player, playing the way that he played at the end of last season when he got sent to Brooklyn, chef's kiss. There's nothing else you'll find on the market to play that type of role. But I digress, because the idea is that Ben Simmons breaks his cycle this year. We know he looks good in summer. He looks good in training camp. He looks good in his workout videos. Then come the season, he doesn't shoot jumpers. That pisses us off. He passes the ball too much. He overpasses to a great degree, doesn't shoot the ball at all, doesn't shoot at the rim, clogs up the paint, makes it harder for his bigs to get buckets, and then more often than not gets hurt. The last time he's played a season with 70 games was his sophomore season in the league, which was 4 years ago. Now, I would like to think that he's going to bounce back and be productive, and since the Brooklyn Nets don't have necessarily the expectation of being a phenomenal team this year, I would say that it is reasonable to assume that he is capable of doing so. They're not expected to make the playoffs. They're not expected to be a play-in team. They're just a nice commodity of role players that all come together to be solid on a night in, night out basis. That being said, you can't expect them to, in my eyes, push for a playoff spot. I don't think that they're there, but I could be proven wrong considering that if Ben Simmons plays the way that Ben Simmons is physically capable of playing when Ben Simmons is confident, and you see score on Rudy Gobert type Ben Simmons night in and night out every game of the season, then the league is going to be taken by storm and he wins the most improved player award, hands down, no questions asked. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none, I'm afraid to say. With that being said, I expect him to start taking threes this year. It doesn't make sense to me why he hasn't thus far, but I think this is the perfect year for him to do it. There's no expectation for him to be good this year as far as from a team standpoint. It's not like he's on the Sixers. So him doing anything beyond what he would typically do, the 14-6-6, 14-7-7, is going to be a bonus, and it's just going to make him look even better, even if the team around him just doesn't do that well. I think this is the perfect opportunity considering the simple fact that there's not much else going on. Like, yes, you're going to have a few outbursts from Cam Thomas. You also have Spencer Dinwiddie on the roster, and you have a couple other guys that like to score the rock. But for the most part, there's nothing too outwardly outrageous on this roster. There's no particular piece that could stifle him or put him in a box. If anybody puts Ben Simmons in a box, it's going to be Ben Simmons himself, because the only person that can really stop Ben Simmons, if Ben Simmons plays the way that his body should allow him to, is a player like a LeBron James, like a Giannis, like an Embiid, like even a Al Horford, perhaps, if you want to give him that, or Jokic. It's going to take a big, stocky, capable, well footwork having big or forward to deal with him because he's, like I said, a mountain of a man at 6'10", 6'11", 240, 250, 260-ish pounds. And he's an athletic beast. And it just comes down to who Ben Simmons wants to be. We can compare him to LeBron James. We can compare him to Joel Embiid. We can compare him to any big, any guard, any forward, any center, anybody the league's ever seen. But at the end of the day, Ben Simmons knows that he is Ben Simmons. So he has to decide what kind of Ben Simmons he wants to be. Does he want to be the one that's going to give you a bunch of buckets? Does he want to be the one that's just a defensive ace that can also pass the ball well? We've seen that one all the time. We want to see the one that's going to go get his, be an aggressive dog, be an absolute menace on both sides of the floor, because he's capable of doing that. That being said, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to go ahead and assume that he's going to give them, 28 and 8. Is he capable of doing it? For sure. But I think it's going to be more reasonable to assume that he just does get back into the double-digit figures and probably scores between 14 and 16 points. And maybe we see 7 rebounds, 8 assists. I could see that. That's very reasonable for him. But to me, that's the floor. As in that I should not expect him to do any worse than that, or else this is really the last year where you're going to see people being willing to believe in him to the same degree that we have been. Because everybody wants Ben Simmons to be great, but Ben Simmons has to actually just decide to be great. He has to believe that he can do it himself, because nobody can push him or make him do it for himself. With that being said, you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. And as always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.